We were all there. Where else could we have been? Nobody knew that space or time. We used to be up for time. Packed in there like sardines. Into one single point, which you all were. In fact, we didn't even bother one another, except from personality differences. Because when space doesn't exist, having somebody unpresent like Mr. on the foot all the time is the most irritating thing. How many of us were there? I was never able to figure that out. We would have had to move apart to make it count, and instead, we all occupied the same space. The ones I remember most are Mrs. Monsieur. Mr. The cleaning woman and a family of immigrants by the name of... They would act as if they were the only ones in the world. Though, to be fair, the other ones had wronged us by calling them immigrants. Neither before or after existed, nor any place to immigrate from. It was what you would call a narrow-minded attitude. Sometimes we might happen to meet at the bus stop, the cinema, the International Dentist Convention. We would say hello and start asking about this one and that one. And so we would go back to the old disputes and the slanders. Until somebody mentions Mrs. And then all the pettiness is put aside, and we feel uplifted, filled with a blissful, generous emotion. I have long since stopped looking for her. Mrs. Her bosom, her thighs, her orange dressing gown. We'll never meet her again in the system of the galaxy or any other. Mrs. who in the midst of our closed, petty world had been capable of generous impulse, of general love, and we will never see her again. Her who loved us and inhabited all of us equally, and we will never meet her again, not in this galaxy or any other, who loved and inhabited us all equally, who aroused no jealousy among us, who in the midst of our closed, petty world had been capable of generous impulse, of general love, uttering the words, "Oh, the Tagliatelle I would make for you boys." Let me make one thing clear. This theory of the universe, after having reached an extremity of rarefaction, will be condensed again and has never convinced me. And yet, most of us are counting on that very last month, I went into a bar, and did I see Mr. I learned he is the agent for a plastic firm in Pavia. Anyway, he whispered to me, but when we go back there, the thing we have to make sure is that this time, certain people remain out. You know who I am. Those. To avoid the subject, I hasten to say, what about Mrs. Do you think we are going to see her there? Ah, yes, he said. She, by all means. Mrs. Her great secret was that she never aroused jealousy among us. She was contained, and was contained with equal happiness. And she welcomed us, and loved us, and inhabited all of us equally. It was enough for her to say, "Oh, boys, if I only had some room, how I would like to make for you some tagliatelle." And then, in that moment, we thought of the space that our round arms would occupy, moving backwards and forwards with the rolling over the dough, her bosom leaning over great mounds of flour and eggs, and cluttered the whole white board with her arms, kneaded and kneaded, white and shiny with oil up to the elbows, and when we thought of the space the flour would occupy, and the fields to raise the wheat, and the mountains from which the water would flow to irrigate the fields, and grazing lands for the herds of calves that would give their meat, for the source of the space it would take for the sun to arrive with its rays to ripen the wheat, of the space for the sun to condense on the clouds of stellar gas, the quantities of stars and galaxies and galactic masses in flight through space, which would be needed to hold suspended every galaxy, every nebula, every sun, every planet, and at the same time we thought of it, the space was inevitably being formed at the same time as fluttering those words. Tagliatelle, boys! The point that contained her and all of us was expanding in a halo of distance, in light years and light centuries, and billions of light millennia, and we were being held to the four corners of the universe, and she who in the midst of our closed, petty world had been capable of generous impulse, boys. The Tagliatelle I would make for you, a true burst of general love, initiating at the same time the very concept of space and time and universal gravitation, and the gravitating universe making possible the billions and billions of suns and of planets and fields of wheat, and Mrs. scattered through the continents and planets, kneading the flowery, oil-shiny, generous,